College, I would like to welcome you to the 7th annual Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. birthday celebration. I'm delighted that each of you has favored us with your presence tonight, and it's our hope that you'll enjoy this wonderful evening of music and inspiration. We are indeed honored to have with us again this year the awesome talents of the DeKalb Symphony Orchestra conducted by Dr. Thomas Anderson. And that was simply delightful.
Thank you so much. And thank you for the lovely prelude for tonight's celebration.
John Lewis received his bachelor's degree in religion and philosophy from Fisk University and was graduated from the American Baptist Theological Seminary in Nashville. His numerous awards include the Martin Luther King Jr. Nonviolent Peace Prize and the John F. Kennedy Profiling Courage Award for lifetime achievement. We have a unique opportunity this evening to hear about the civil rights movement from a man who was not only there, but who was a leader in the movement. He was there when Martin Luther King Jr. told the world he had a dream, and he has spent his life keeping that dream alive. In his letter from the Birmingham jail, Dr. King wrote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a man who fights for justice, equality, and human dignity every day. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable John Lewis.
Thank you very much for those kind words of introduction, Mr. Todd. Madam President, Archbishop Paul, to all of the members of this great community, to this great college family, I am delighted, very happy, and very pleased to be here tonight to reflect on the life and the time of Martin Luther King Jr., and I will be very brief. Tonight, I'm not going to talk about something that I read about in the New York Times, or the Washington Post, or the Atlanta Constitution. I'm not going to speak about something I saw on NBC, or CBS, or ABC. We didn't have CNN then. But when I was just a small boy, growing up in rural Alabama, the son of a sharecropper, during the 40s, during the 50s, I saw those signs that said white men, colored men, white women, colored women, white waiting, colored waiting. As a young child, I tasted the bitter fruits of segregation and racial discrimination, and I didn't like it. But in 1955, at the age of 15, in the 10th grade, I heard of Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks. I heard Dr. King's voice on an old radio. I listened to his words. I followed the drama of the Montgomery bus boycott, and the drama of 50,000 black people walking the streets in dignity, rather than ride segregated buses, inspired me. Martin Luther King Jr., in my mind, emerged as a modern-day Moses, using the emotionalism within the black church as an instrument, as a tool, as a vehicle toward freedom. And I admired that. When I finished high school in May of 1957, at the age of 17, I wanted to attend a little college 10 miles from my home. Troy State College, now known as Troy State University. It didn't admit black students. So I wrote a letter to Martin Luther King Jr. I didn't tell my mother, my father, any of my sisters or brothers that I was writing a letter to Dr. King. I wrote a letter to Martin Luther King Jr. and told him I wanted to attend Troy State. Dr. King wrote me back and sent me a round-trip Greyhound bus ticket and invited me to come to Montgomery. In the meantime, I had been accepted at a little college in Nashville. On a Saturday morning, my father drove me to the Greyhound bus station. I boarded the bus, traveled the 50 miles from Troy to Montgomery. I had a Foot Locker. My uncle gave me a Foot Locker and a $100 bill more money than I ever had. Some of you know, when I was a young boy, I used to talk to the chickens. I used to preach to the chickens. I put everything I had in that Foot Locker except those chickens and went off to school to Nashville. And one of my teachers knew that I had been in contact with Martin Luther King Jr., and this teacher was a friend of Dr. King. And he told Dr. King that I was in Nashville. Martin Luther King Jr. got back in touch and suggested when I was home for spring break to come and see him. In March of 1958, by this time, I'm 18 years old. Another Saturday morning. My father drove me to the Greyhound bus station, the little town of Troy. I boarded a bus, traveled the 50 miles from Troy to Montgomery. And I was met at the Greyhound bus station in Montgomery by a young African-American lawyer. I never seen a lawyer before, black or white. A young man by the name of Fred Gray, who was the lawyer for Rosa Parks, Dr. King, and the Montgomery movement. He drove me to the First Baptist Church in downtown Montgomery, pastored by the Reverend Ralph Abernathy, and ushered me into the pastor's study. I was so scared, I didn't know what I was going to say to Martin Luther King Jr. I saw Dr. King and Reverend Ralph Abernathy, Bishop, standing behind a desk. And Dr. King spoke up and said, "Are you the boy from Troy? Are you John Lewis?" And I spoke up and said, "Dr. King, I'm John Robert Lewis." I gave my whole name. I didn't want there to be any mistake that I was the right person. And that was the beginning of my involvement, my relationship with Martin Luther King Jr. This man inspired me. I don't know where I would be if it hadn't been for Martin Luther King Jr. He taught us the way of love. He taught us the way of nonviolence. And I started studying the philosophy, the discipline of nonviolence, studying Thoreau and civil disobedience, studying the great religions of the world, studying what Gandhi attempted to do in South Africa, what they accomplished in India. We studied what the Montgomery bus boycott was all about. And we were so inspired and so moved by the words and teaching of Martin Luther King Jr. until we started sitting in at segregated lunch counters and restaurants in Nashville and all across the South. And we'd be sitting there, and someone would come up and put a lighted cigarette out in our hair or down our backs, spit on us, pour hot water, hot coffee on us, pull us off the lunch counter stool, and beat us. When I was growing up in rural Alabama, I was told over and over again by my mother, my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, don't get in trouble. And we said, why? Why is it? Why? My parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and others would say, that's the way it is. Martin Luther King Jr. taught us to get in the way. He taught us to get in trouble. It was good trouble. It was necessary trouble. So the first time that I was arrested on February the 27th, 1960, I felt free. I felt liberated. Tonight, as we pay tribute to Dr. King, in my mind, this man, this one man, the son of the American South, a citizen of the world, perhaps more than any other citizen of our nation during the 20th century, had the power to bring more people together to do good. He liberated not just a people, but a nation. Where would we be if it wasn't for Martin Luther King Jr.? This man, this one man, this extraordinary human being that I got to know, man that I marched with, worked with, went to jail with, was beaten with. On one hand, he was so black and yet so American. He believed in the dignity of humankind. He believed in the destiny of democracy. He was not a bitter person. He never gave up. He never gave in. He never gave out. He kept the faith. He kept his eyes on the prize. Martin Luther King Jr. I tell you, if it hadn't been for Dr. King teaching us how to stand up straight, he would say over and over again, in big meetings, in small meetings, he said, straight up your back. If you walk straight up, no man can ride your back. He loved people. I remember on one occasion, after we had been beaten in Selma, after Bloody Sunday, we were marching from Selma to Montgomery, and somehow the heavens opened up and it started raining, a downpour. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was wearing a little brown cap, and I had a patch on my head. I didn't have a cap on. And the simple thing that he did, I will never forget. He took his cap off of his head, and he put it on my head and said, John, you need to protect your head. You've been hurt. This man, this prophet, this leader, was my friend, my colleague, my brother, my hero. I think Martin Luther King Jr. was sent to us at a time to liberate not just a people, but a nation and a world. He believed in nonviolence not simply as a technique or as a tactic, but as a way of life, as a way of living. If he could speak to us today, he would say, lay down the tools and instrument of war and violence and study war no more. He taught us how to live, and he taught us how to die. Martin Luther King Jr. This man, this 20th century prophet. Thank you, Martin Luther King.
Speaker's many accomplishments is her ability to have kept Bill Cosby in line, not once but twice. However, Phylicia Rashad's larger accomplishment really spans the course of her career in portraying strong female characters, and in doing so providing role models for all women. In addition to her roles in The Cosby Show and Cosby, her television credits include many films: The Old Settler, David's Mother, Jailbirds, Touched by an Angel, Blossom, A Different World, and Polly Coming Home. Her Broadway credits include the Roundabout Theatre Company's production of Blue, Jelly's Last Jam, Into the Woods, which I saw, Dreamgirls, The Wiz, and Ain't Supposed to Die a Natural Death. Off-Broadway credits include plays for the Negro Ensemble Company, the Lincoln Center, and the Manhattan Theatre Club. Also active in regional theatre Phylicia Rashad has performed in Medea and in Blues for an Alabama Sky, both here in Atlanta at the Alliance Theatre. Her feature film credits include Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, Free of Eden, playing opposite Sidney Poitier, Loving Jezebel, and The Visit. Phylicia has received many awards for her work, including the NAACP Image Award for Best Actress in a Comedy Series for both her Cosby roles. She's also been nominated for 2 Emmy Awards and has received 2 People's Choice Awards. As an active participant in charitable and non-profit organizations, she supports the work of the Prasad Project, an international organization providing humanitarian aid in India, Mexico, and the US. She's also committed to the mission of Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C., which provides premium pediatric health care and services, and also to recruiting new teachers, which was formed in 1986 to raise esteem for teaching and expand the pool of prospective teachers. And having been at Cedar Grove Elementary School today, you may have a new recruit. In addition to supporting these organizations, she remains dedicated to the importance of including the fine arts in our schools. Phylicia was graduated magna cum laude and received a bachelor's degree in fine arts from Howard University. She has since received honorary doctorates from Providence College in Rhode Island, Morris Brown College, Clark Atlanta University, and Barber Scotia College, and is a recipient of the Harvard University Foundation Award. In 1999, she received the Dorothy Height Dreammaker Award. In 2001, she was honored by the Board of Directors of New York Women in Film and Television with the Muse Award for Outstanding Vision and Achievement. Please join me in welcoming Phylicia Rashad.
Thank you so very much for your warm welcome. My sister, Debbie Allen, was scheduled to